Reddington is in Miami, speaking to Agnes on the phone and assuring her that he'll be back in time for her ballet recital. It is a ballet that almost caused Reddington's life. This episode once again confirms our theory that Reddington is either terminally ill or tired of life, because he is risking his life over silly things. Reddington is attempting to broker peace between two feuding families, the Montagues Montanos and Capulets Sanduvals. The two families own a valuable mine together. Years ago, a Sandoval made a mistake that killed a Montano. The Montanos avenged him by killing two Sanduvals. One thing leads to another and the fight transformed into generational blood feud. Red is there to broker a peace between the feuding families and ensure his access to the mine's cobalt and aluminum. It's off to a difficult start though, as it's obvious that Vincent Sandoval and Raul Montano have trouble trusting one another. 3 members of each family sit with Red in Vincent's private dining room. Reddington gets them to eat the dinner as only he could. Vincent has a special bottle of champagne brought out to toast a Reddington-designed agreement. Everything looks like it's going to be fine. Vincent sips the apple cider. Immediately, he began to gasp. He died within seconds, and then his brother Leon Sandoval goes down as well. When Michael Montano goes to call 911, Red pulls his gun to stop him. He recognizes what's happening. He's seen it before and warns that the room must be sealed in order to protect everyone. Whatever is happening is definitely not normal poisoning. Red calls the task force, and Demve catches everyone up. The Blacklister is a killer nicknamed Wormwood who developed a poison that amplify existing allergies into deadly mega-allergies. Step 1 is figuring out how they all got poisoned in the first place, so Herbie is sent to Miami despite his objections. Going into a room with mortal enemies, 2 dead bodies, and 3 decades of recrimination. Red has to break up a fight between the last Montano and Raul, which triggers Raul's urticaria. This is an extremely rare allergy to human touch, which is normally unnoticeably mild, but the wormwood poison has made it fatal. Elsewhere, Jonathan Pritchard celebrates his 2-month sobriety with a proud wrestler. That victory is only temporary though, because Congressman Arthur Hudson has figured out Pritchard's connection to the task force he wants to take down. Over the course of the episode, he convinces Pritchard that becoming his inside man will somehow protect wrestler from the upcoming fallout. Herbie, working in an adjoining room, analyzes the trace amounts of poison in the food and discovers that it's chemically built on the compound of a blood pressure medication. That's enough for the task force to work from. He is interrupted by Gabriella Sandoval, the daughter of the family, who is coming to check on the peace talks. He has to shut the door in her face and tell her that her father is dead, which he does so bluntly that it feels a little mean. Herbie obviously lacks social and communication skills. Gabriella watches through the doors of the dining room, looks agitated, but in the wrong direction. And Red catches exactly who she's looking at. That's right, she's our Juliet, and Michael Montano is our Romeo. Meanwhile, Uncle David Montano goes down as soon as he opens a window for fresh air. At this point we're down to the 2 sons, Michael and Izan, the only surviving members of the 2 family that are present in the meeting. The chemical compound is too popular to narrow down, so Wrestler and Demve interview the chef about the food. She tells them that she witnessed a fight between Vincent and Tito about the peace talks before the dinner, and further, she tasted all the food before it was served. She definitely could not be the poisoner. Tito has moved up the suspect list. He is now the main suspect. Red speaks to the last 2 standing. He urges them to make peace now. Izan suspects Reddington may be the cause of the poison, but he scoffs. I intended to talk you all to peace, not kill you. Malik and Wrestler burst into Tito's hotel room. He goes for a gun, and Malik gets into a wrestling match. Hilariously, Dembe just watches, knowing she can handle herself, which she does. But in the interview, it's clear Tito is stunned to hear what's happened. We see the fight with Vincent from his perspective, and it includes slamming his hand on the counter for emphasis and cutting himself on a dish. When he finishes telling his side of the story, Dembe starts to lead him from the room, but it's too late. Tito is the latest to go down from the wormwood poison. Now things are a little complicated, because Tito was not in the meeting, and he has been poisoned also. When Malik and Demve call Reddington to let him know, they realize that the only common touch point between Tito and the dinner guests was the dishes, which also explains why the waiters wore fancy white gloves to serve. Herbie talks to a waiter, who is understandably freaked out to see someone in a hazmat suit just hanging out. She tells him who instructed them not to touch the dishes, and Reddington goes to the French doors to talk to the culprit, Gabriella. Red is not here for her protestations. I'm late for a very important engagement, so I'll cut right to it, he explains. I'm not afraid to die. You, on the other hand, are terrified that Michael will. He calmly calls out her plan. Gabriella didn't believe the families would ever truly make peace, so she poisoned everyone at the dinner to clear the way. Red being there was a bonus since law enforcement would assume he was the target. The one thing she didn't plan on was Michael stepping in at the last minute. She doesn't want to admit it, but when Red threatens to open the door and thereby risk Michael's life further, she gives up what she knows about Wormwood. I am sorry, she says, and Red nods. Some killers are. Gabriella's bottle of poison leads Malik and Demve to a pharmaceutical company. When Demve describes the poison, the director reveals that it's similar to a drug that was stopped in animal trials for being a catastrophic failure. The trials were run by Dr. Harris. Who is he? The guy who is just across the room is anxiously deleting computer files. He runs to the stairwell, but Demve quickly corners him. They've got their Wormwood. Back in the dining room, which is full of corpses, Red reveals all. Izan and Michael are both horrified to learn about Gabriella, for different reasons. At the French doors of revelation, Michael confronts Gabriella. With her murderous heart, she thinks she can still be with her lover after she killed 4 people, including his dad. She now wants him to make peace with Izan, so that she and her lover can live happily. Dr. Harris is in interrogation, and he gives up pretty quickly when he finds out that the dangerous and scary criminal, Raymond Reddington, is part of the poison group. He quickly gave out the antidote out of his fear for Reddington. The poison is temporary and is filtered out by the kidneys. All they have to do is wait for another 7 hours or so in the dining room to avoid any potential allergens, and they'll be fine. Good news, except that Red has already left the room. So, bad news. He risked his life and left the quarantine even after knowing the potential harm. He's at the ballet, of course. He texts a picture to Cooper, who is frustrated enough to be waiting for Reddington at the bathhouse when he gets home. Cooper is surprised that Reddington risked his life for a dance recital, but Red is insistent that he wants to enjoy what is still beautiful in the world, things like Agnes in the ballet. He insists that beautiful things like that are worth the risk. What do you think is going on inside Reddington's head that made him this reckless? Let us know in the comments section.